Welcome back, crafty friends. I am so excited to share a brand new craft with you today. We are going to make this reindeer felt plushie. This is a great project for the holidays coming up. It's a simple hand sewing project, fun for kids and adults alike, and I tried to make it simple, cute, and versatile. If you want to add this little string to the top, it would make a fun holiday ornament or could be added to a garland. I think this one is great, flexible, and I'm so excited to share it with you just in time for the holidays. To make this adorable reindeer felt plushie, you're going to need the following supplies. Felt in the color that you want your reindeer, this free printable pattern. I have it on my website. Again, click and print, slicespoon.com under the craft section. Something to cut out your pattern, something to trace your pattern with. This is embroidery floss. It's just thicker thread. You can also use normal thread if you want. I have a color, the tan color, to match my main felt. I have black for the eyes and nose. And then if you want a reindeer that looks more like Rudolph, you might want a red nose. So I included red just in this. Something to stuff your plushie with. This is polyfill. It's what's used in most stuffed animals. Just kind of, you can get it at the craft store. I also use my felt scraps. All these like bits that as I'm cutting out my pattern are left over. These are great filler. I've used cut up plastic bags. So use what you had. You don't need anything fancy. And then a needle to sew with. This is an embroidery needle. It just has a little bit of a wider head. So go ahead, take a minute, pause this video, print this pattern, again, linked in the description below, cut it out, come back here, and let me give you some quick instructions for tracing it. So here's how I did the different pieces on my different felt colors, and as you're laying your pieces out, do your best to put them as far to the edge as you can. This will just maximize your felt to use this for this project and other future projects. And pay special attention to any of these that say cut to. Trace them one time on the side with the words, and then flip the piece over, and the second time you trace it on the side without words. This will just make the pieces line up better when we're getting ready to sew them together. Now we get to cut them out. As you're cutting them out, do your best to cut off any of your tracing lines. Sometimes it works better to trace with a pen or something thinner. I did a marker so it would show up really good in the video. You don't need to use a marker. And then cut right on the middle of your scissors. That's usually the sharpest. You are going to need adult scissors for this. Kid scissors don't work great for this. So take your time, cut out your pieces, and do your best to cut off any of your tracing lines, and hang on to any of those scrap bits of felt you cut off because they work great for stuffing into your plushie. So go ahead, pause the video, and get all of your pieces cut out. Now that we have it all cut out, we're going to attach the deer's legs. So go ahead, lay the legs onto the deer's body piece. As you're laying your legs onto the felt pieces, make sure that you're putting the leg right up against the deer's rear end or its butt. If you sew it inward, it just makes it look kind of weird, like it's got a big bum, which is maybe fine, but it looks a little bit unexpected. So put that leg right against the end of the deer, and then go ahead and get your tan embroidery floss, thread our needle, and tie a simple loop knot at the end with both strands. So I usually measure this thread from my fingertips to about my shoulder, and then we're just going to do a circle kind of pretzel knot. I put my fingers over the top of that place where they're crossed and pull on the needle side. This keeps my knot right here at the end of my thread, and then pull it tight. Now we're going to flip over our deer, and we're going to start from the back, and we're going to push that needle through, and we're going to pull it almost to the end, but not quite. So we're just going to give it a little space back here, and then we're going to go from the front to the back. And we're going to pull it almost tight, and then between these two threads we're going to poke our needle. So we have the two strands here. You want your needle to go right in the middle, and then we're going to pull it tight. And we're going to pull it tight so it's flat in the front, and then we're going to stick our needle into this bundle of threads right here. Don't pull it all the way through right now. So we're going to set it here. We're going to once, twice around the top of the needle, and then we're going to pull it back towards our thumb just to keep it tight, and then I pinch it in place. I'm not holding it so tight that this needle won't move, but I am holding that thread in place as I'm pulling my needle through. This is going to keep the knot just right here at the end of our thread where we want it to be. Once you have that pulled all the way tight through, go ahead and snip off your excess thread, and you're ready to go. So go ahead, pause the video, and repeat those steps for the other 3 deer legs. So there are a couple ways to do this ear. The simplest is going to be to do it just like you did the legs, to just put it on the top where you want it, to go from the back forward and sew it in place. If you want it to be a little bit more curved like this, it's a little bit trickier. It is what I'm going to do for my deer, so you can decide what's going to work best for you. So for this, again, I am doing a loop knot right in the end here. For the trickier one, I am going to fold this ear. I'm just going to like pinch it. I'm kind of folding it in half, and I'm going to put it on here where I want the ear to go. And then I'm going to do a knot where I'm going through this pinched bit at the bottom. Sticking it through, being real careful with my fingers. I'm going to pull the string almost to the end, but not all the way because I want to go back through it. And then I'm going to go from the front all the way through the deer's head to the back. Pulling it tight, and then I'm sliding it in the middle of these two parts of my knot, and then pulling it real firm here in the back. And then I'll just readjust it up here so it's kind of open and flat. And then just like before, I'm going to knot it in place. So I'm going to go through the middle of this, wrap it once, twice over the top, pull it back, pinch it so those loop knots stay right where I need them to. Pull this through. All right, our deer has some ears. And the final thing we're going to do before we start sewing this together is to add an eye to our deer. So I'm going to put my eye on the white. This is just going to help hold it on together a little bit better. So again, I've taken a line of my black string, measuring from my fingertips to my shoulder. And I want the eye to be right about here. So I'm going to turn it over to the back. I'm going to poke my needle through both pieces of felt, pulling it almost to the end, and then pretty close to where I came through, I'm going to go back. There is my eye right here. I'm going to go in the middle of these two. And if you want a tiny eye, you can be done right here. I want my eye to be a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to go back through this a few more times. So I'm going to go from the back forward, and I'm just going to cross over where I put that first knot. I'm probably going to do this 3 or 4 times just to make my eye a little bit bigger. That's a bigger eye, and that's going to be good enough for me. So again, like with all the other stitches, when I'm done, I'm going to stick my needle through this bundle over here, and I'm going to wrap it once, twice over the top, pull it down, pinch it in place while I pull this string through, and I'm going to cut it off. There is our deer's eye. Now you might want fancy eyes too. Maybe you're doing a boy girl and a girl deer. Maybe you just want to do it a little bit different. I'm also going to show you how to make an eyelash deer. So for this, I'm taking my black string. I'm going to have 2 different eyes on my deer. You don't have to do your deer like this. All right, so I'm just kind of wiggling my fingers until I'm unraveling my string a little bit. And I am just going to pull out a thinner piece. I feel like for a more detailed eye, I don't want such thick string. I'm going to do another loop knot at the end with these 2. All right, and this time I am going to make a little eyelash eye. So again, I want it in a similar place. I'm going to start from the back here. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to go over just a tiny bit and put it back. I'm going to go through my loop over here. And now this is where it gets a little different. Next time I pull my needle through, I'm going to try and put it right over here. And then I'm going to go back through the beginning dot where my last stitch ended. Gives it kind of a curved look. I'm going to do that one more time. I just want it to be a little more curvy then. So coming out and then going back through where my last stitch ended. Now I've got that curved eye, and you know what? I'm going to go a little crazy. I'm going to add some eyelashes to this deer. So now I'm going to try and come out right about here and then go back through over there. I'm going to give my deer 2 or 3 eyelashes. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to put the second one just down a little bit. And each time I'm going just back through that corner of the eye. All right, that's going to do it for me. And again, like before, I'm just going to knot this stitch in the back. So I'm going to go 1, 2. There we go. Okay, so I have 2 sides of this deer, and now we are ready to start piecing it together. Once you have your eyes sewn on, we can start the fun part, which is putting these together. So this time I'm going to take a length of string that matches the body of my deer, and I'm going to do a single strand this time. So I'm not doubling it up, I'm just doing a single strand, and I'm going to do another loop knot at the end, I'm going to put the two pieces of my deer, one on top of the other, and then I like to start between these hind legs because it hides the starting stitch better. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to put it through both pieces of felt, and I'm just holding them in place. We're going to go through both pieces of felt. We're going to pull it almost to the end like we did with those eyes. And then we're just going to come around the top. We're going to stick our needle in the middle here. Now, as you're stitching, if any of your stitches get tangled or your knot gets weird, pause, pull back, try and loosen your stitches. A lot of times that means taking your needle off your string and restart. Sewing is so forgiving that way. All right, so now I've gone through this, the edge kind of close to my knot. You want to keep it close to your knot because if you do it way up here, it kind of tangles. And now I'm just going to take that knot and I'm going to push it onto the inside of this deer, pinch it with my fingers, and then I'm going to pull this tight. Now we are going to do a modified blanket stitch. So for that, I am going to turn my deer so that I'm always going through the same way. So I'm going to start, my needle is always going to come from the table up. It's never going to go from the top down. So I'm going to go from the table side up, push my needle halfway in. I'm going to pause right here, and then I'm going to grab this end part, this tail where it just came out, and I'm going to loop it over the top of the needle. And then I'm going to pull this out. And you can't pull too hard because it's not knotted at the end. It'll come off your needle. And then we're going to get a stitch where it has these two lines and kind of this line across the top. It looks really nice. And we're going to go down. We're going to do that again. We're going to go through the two pieces of felt, grab the edge of this, pull it over the top of the needle. We are going to continue with that blanket stitch all the way until we want to add this tail, maybe. So I'm going to do the blanket stitch until right here on the deer, and then I'm going to pause. So go ahead, pause your video, do your blanket stitch. All right, I'm going to pause about here, and I'm going to take my little tail piece and I'm going to add it in just here between the two folds of my deer. Now I'm not going to be able to do a blanket stitch around this, so what we are going to do is a modified running stitch. So a running stitch I think is even easier than a blanket stitch. So we're going to go in one side, push it through all three pieces of felt. So I'm getting the front, the tail of the back, and we're going to pull it all the way tight. And then we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to go from the back. Put it in all three pieces of felt, pull it tight. And then from the same side your thread came through, we're just going to go in and out until we have that tail sewn all the way in. You're going to want to be careful that you don't get your leg pieces in this. And if you do, just pause, take your needle off, unwind your thread, rethread your needle, and go again. All right, and just like before, we're going to continue with that blanket stitch all the way until we are at the part where we want to add the antlers, and we're going to do the antlers the same way we did this tail with a running stitch. So I'm probably going to put my antlers maybe up here by the horns, and you can put them right by each other if you want. You can put them offset, you can decide. But we're just going to keep going with that blanket stitch until we get to the antlers. We're going to do that in and out running stitch, and we're going to continue with the blanket stitch until the front arms right here where we're going to pause and we're going to stuff it before we sew the belly closed. Go ahead, pause your video and get that blanket stitch going. I just want mine to be behind the ears. I'm going to overlap them a little more. Yep, that's what I want. And I am going to get right back to that running stitch. Well, now that I'm through, I'm going to go back to my blanket stitch. If your stitches are getting tangled, just pull them back from wherever the tangle is and then try and slide it forward again. If it's feeling hard to pull through, it probably has a tangle. So just back it up, slide it out, and give it another shot. All right, and now down here at the nose, we're just going to want to be careful that we are getting all four pieces of felt as we continue this blanket stitch. And as I'm coming up here, I'm just bending those arms out of the way so that I can continue my blanket stitch around the knots here. And when I have just an inch or so space, I'm going to make that even just a tiny bit smaller. I'm going to go past the arms. Okay, so now we're going to pause right here, and we are going to stuff the inside of our deer. So you can use your felt scraps, you can use your polyfill, you can use your plastic bags or whatever you're using. Go ahead and take some pieces. You're going to want to do the furthest away things first. You're going to want to start with the nose and the head and then go to the back and the body. And I like to start with my felt scraps. All right, once I'm out of felt scraps, I'm going to finish with my polyfill. Now we're going to have to pull your last stitch tight probably again, and we're going to do a blanket stitch all the way to our starting stitch here at the end. It is going to be a little bit trickier now that we're full of stuffing, so just do your best to get the two edges of your felt and pull your stitches tight as you go. So through both ends, pull your needle through. If stuffing's coming out, you probably are going to want to push it in with your fingers as you go. All right, we're going to go right here back to where we started. Oh, I should have pushed that a little bit in. All right, we're going to go through both pieces of felt, kind of over that beginning knot, and we're going to wrap this once, twice over the top of your needle. We're going to pinch it in place so that knot stays right on top of that seam. And the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to push this needle up into your deer's body and out one of the sides. You're going to want to make sure your fingers are far away. I'm pulling it through. And then we're going to pull this tight right here. We're going to snip it. Pull that thread down into the deer's body. So just like before, I'm going to line up both ends of my black, do a loop knot. And I really don't want these little things to show up. I'm going to trim them down. These scissors are not great. Okay, I'm going to go right to the tip of my deer. I'm going to go through all those pieces of felt. Pull this right down and go between those two bits. And now I am going to sew over my knot so it hopefully disappears into this. And we're just going to go through both sides and around a couple of times until your nose is as big as you want it to be. All right, and once you've got that there, we're just going to poke our needle into the middle of this. And there's a lot of felt here, so this is going to be a little bit trickier. Make sure your fingers are safe and away from it as you poke it in and pull it through. And then we're going to pull this really tight down here. Snip it so the edges of those threads are inside the deer's body. Take a minute and reposition things how you want it, and your deer is done. Done so good, and this deer is so cute. If you decide that you want this to be a Christmas ornament or something that could hang on a garland or the like, we're just going to do one final step to make this into an ornament. So I have taken some white embroidery floss, and I'm just going to poke it through this top part of my felt plushie, so the stitch is kind of hidden behind those ears. I don't have any knots in it. I'm just pulling it all the way through, and then I am going to tie a loop knot when I've got it through. So I'm just going to do 2 circles together. We're going to tie a loop knot right there, and we are ready to go. And I'm going to pull that knot down to the bottom so it's kind of hidden. And ta-da! You have something ready to hang on a tree or garland. And here we are again with our finished reindeer felt plushie. I hope you had fun putting this together. I know that I did. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, share it, subscribe, and come back next Monday. I have free patterns and sew-alongs posted every Monday, and I'm excited to get crafty.